Welcome back. All right, in this final session, we're going to pull everything we've learned about project procurement management together. The goal here isn't to throw new rules at you, but to build one single unified mental model, something you can use to absolutely nail the PMP exam and, more importantly, to really excel out there in the real world. Let's dive right in.
So, here's our game plan. We'll start by looking at procurement as a unified strategy. Then, we'll see it in action with our case study. After that, we're going to dig into some of the critical nuances for the exam. And finally, we'll lock in those essential pillars for success.
First up, let's talk strategy. We're really shifting our perspective here. We need to move away from seeing procurement as just a simple checklist of tasks and start understanding it as a core strategic function of any successful project.
Now, this slide right here, this holds the core idea for our entire discussion. See, procurement isn't just about buying stuff. It's a really powerful system for managing risk and for delivering value through your external partners. This is the mindset of a senior project leader.
I want you to think of procurement as a capability multiplier. It's not off in its own little silo. No way. It's a project hub. It's a central control system that has a continuous feedback loop right into your schedule and your budget. So when a vendor slips, the entire project feels it. And that makes procurement a critical project-wide dependency, where your strategic goal is always to smartly allocate risk and optimize your resources.
So why do we even bother with all this? Well, this table breaks it down perfectly. These are the 3 pillars that justify every single procurement decision. It's not just about getting the lowest price, it's about maximizing the value. It's about strategically transferring risk to the party that's best equipped to handle it. And critically, it's about getting access to those specialized skills that you just don't have in-house.
Okay, enough theory. Let's put this into action. We're going to use our high-rise electrical grid case study to walk through the entire procurement lifecycle, from start to finish. This will show you exactly how these concepts work together in a real practical scenario.
Remember this one. It all kicked off with a simple make-or-buy analysis. We knew we couldn't handle the high-voltage work, so we had to buy. From there, we developed a super precise statement of work, chose an FPIF contract to incentivize good performance, and used a weighted scoring system to pick the best vendor, not just the cheapest. Then, during execution, we controlled the work through inspections and formal change requests. And finally, we reached a formal closure. You see, this isn't just a list of tasks, it's a single, integrated story of delivering value.
All right, now for the part that separates the pros from the amateurs. Let's dive into the critical nuances of governance and logic, the stuff that's absolutely essential for passing that PMP exam and for leading complex projects with confidence.
So this is a huge point you have to get, this buyer-seller duality. The type of contract you choose literally dictates who holds the risk. With a fixed-price contract, the risk is mostly on the seller. They've got to deliver, period. But with a cost-reimbursable contract, that risk shifts over to you, the buyer. Your job then becomes all about intense oversight and auditing. A truly great project manager knows exactly how to manage this balance, holding both sides accountable to the contract as that single source of truth.
For the PMP exam, you absolutely have to think like this. If a vendor is underperforming, what do? You don't just have a chat with them, you follow the formal procedures laid out in the contract. What if a PM gives a verbal instruction? It's invalid. Everything related to the contract must be in writing. And if the scope is fuzzy and unclear, a fixed-price contract is just the wrong tool for the job. The exam is testing your discipline and your ability to match the right procurement strategy to the project's level of uncertainty.
You know, great project managers don't manage on trust alone. They manage with data. This flow is critical. We take the raw work performance data from the field, then we process it into meaningful work performance information, and we use that to generate powerful outputs like forecasts and audits. This data-driven approach ensures that every single decision you make is transparent, justifiable, and totally aligned with your project's governance.
All right, let's bring it all home. This final section is all about consolidating everything into a framework, a set of essential rules you need to internalize to really, truly master procurement.
Here they are, the 8 pillars of procurement. First, strategy first. Always let your make or buy analysis drive your actions. Next, the contract is your anchor. It is the one and only source of truth. Then, maintain role separation. The PM handles the technical stuff, the procurement pro handles the legal. Always remember that documentation is protection. Every single interaction needs to be in writing. Let risk dictate the process.
Match your solicitation to how complex the project is. Embrace numerical precision. You have to master the calculations to maintain control. Insist on formal closure. This is a mandatory process for every single contract, no exceptions. And finally, operate with integrity and transparency. Your selection process has to be objective and based on clear criteria. Burn these into your brain and you'll be set.
So we've covered the technical side of managing external partners with total confidence. But here's the thing. A perfect contract with a perfect vendor can still fail. And that leads to a really crucial question. What about the people? You see, managing a contract is a technical skill, but managing a relationship, that's a leadership skill.
And that right there is our bridge to the next topic. A vendor is just one of many, many stakeholders who can either make or break your project. So, in our next explainer, we're going to dive into mastering stakeholder management and explore the human side of project success. I'll see you there.